Dawn breaks over the Golden Horn, where the first rays catch the gleam of a Solidus in a weary merchant's calloused palm. It weighs exactly 4.5 grams, pure gold, 24 carats strong, the same heft it carried since Constantine's decree in 312 AD. This coin, born from the ashes of Rome's fractured empire, whispers promises of eternity, trade without fear, borders without breach, an economy armored in unyielding metal. Constantinople's harbors pulse with it, silken caravans from Cathay, spices from the Indies, amber from the Baltic, all flowing through fingers clutching these sun-like discs. In the shadow of the hippodrome, where chariots thunder and emperors wave from marble balconies, the Solidus buys loyalty, builds walls, and feeds legions. It is Byzantium's soul made tangible, a currency so trusted that even barbarians at the gates demand it in tribute. Yet beneath the torch-lit vaults of the imperial mint, the weight carries secrets. Master engravers, their faces etched like the dies they wield, hammer portraits of the Basileos, Constantine, helmeted and stern, Justinian, robed in eternity. Each strike births thousands, 72 solidi from a single pound of gold, sourced from Nubian mines and Thracian veins, guarded by chain-gang slaves under scorpion whips. The air reeks of molten promise, furnaces roaring like dragons tamed for the emperor's will. No debasement here, no dilution's shame. Purity is law, decreed by Theodosius and upheld through plagues and sieges. Merchants test it with teeth, scales, and fire. It rings true on marble slabs, fueling a realm that spans from the Atlantic's edge to the Euphrates' fire. By Justinian's reign, the Solidus is legend. In 527 AD, he pours its gold into reconquest, armies marching on Vandal Carthage, Ostrogoth Ravenna, buying back Rome's lost provinces. 50,000 pounds of it, they say, shipped across the wine-dark sea, chests locked with imperial seals. Soldiers' pay glints in pouches, 10 solidi a year for a cataphract, enough for a family villa or a bride's dowry. Taxes flow back in rivers, land tithes from Anatolian estates, harbor dues from Genoese galleys, even church offerings melted into the mint. The treasury vaults bulge, stone doors groaning under keys held only by trusted eunuchs. In Ravenna's mosaics, Justinian offers the Solidus to Christ himself, as if divinity endorses this golden covenant. But eternity tests its vows. The 7th century dawns with Persian hordes and Arab tempests crashing against the walls. Heraclius, crowned in desperation, stares into ledgers by candlelight. Gold reserves dwindle, yet the Solidus endures, unchanged. It buys Bulgar mercenaries, bribes Slavic chieftains, even funds the first icons in mountain monasteries. Markets echo with its clink, silk for solidi, slaves for stacks, no questions asked. From Frankish courts to Abbasid bazaars, it is the bezant, the nomisma, the coin that measures empires. Persian kings hoard it, Viking longships carry it north. In Constantinople's forums, philosophers debate its metaphysics. Is gold divine or merely the emperor's shadow? As the 8th century unfolds, the Solidus remains Byzantium's anchor. Leo III, iconoclast emperor, smashes idols but spares the mint. Gold needs no saints. His armies, paid in pure metal, repel the Umayyads at Constantinople's triple walls. Torchlight flickers over annual tallies, 100,000 pounds minted yearly, circulating from Spain's caliphates to China's Tang markets. The coin's edge bears the cross, its face the ruler's gaze, eternal vigilance. Merchants' wives string them into necklaces, peasants bury hoards under hearths. In empty plague streets, a single Solidus buys a loaf or a horse. It is more than money, it is faith forged in fire, weighing the world's fragile order. Flickering torchlight dances across the imperial mint's shadowed ledgers, where Emperor Nicephorus' focus pours over columns of figures in the dead of night. The year is 963 AD, and Byzantium's gold reserves strain under the weight of endless wars. Bulgar raids in the Balkans, Fatimid fleets prowling the Levant. The Solidus, that faithful 4.5-gram sentinel, still gleams pure on the dies, but the treasury's vaults echo hollower now. Silken tribute from Rus princes and Armenian mines flows in, yet outflows devour it. Cataphract armor from Damascus smiths, grain shipments to starving Anatolia, bribes to Norman mercenaries. The coin buys victories at Achelous and Preslav, but each triumph bleeds the coffers drier. In the flickering glow, Nicephorus decrees no change. The Nomisma must ring true, or the empire's soul fractures. Yet shadows lengthen. By John Zimisky's reign, the 10th century's opulence masks creeping decay. Constantinople's markets brim with hyperpyra, elevated solidi, heavier at 4.7 grams, stamped with Christ's monogram to signal divine favor. Taxes bite deeper, the Allelengion, a forced loan on the wealthy, repaid in gold or land. Merchants grumble as harbor dues double, their scales tipping lighter under imperial gaze. In torchlit counting houses, eunuch logothetes tally it all. Annual mintage swells to 150,000 pounds, but Persian wars and Italian expeditions swallow half. The Solidus circulates unchanged, buying Genoese ships and Venetian glass, yet whispers spread. Romanus II's excesses, harems funded by melted church plate. Still purity holds, teeth marks prove it in smoky bazaars from Baghdad to Kiev. The 11th century dawns with Basil II, Bulgar slayer, his iron fist clutching the mint's reins. For 49 years he hoards like a dragon. Taxes from 1,000-mile frontiers pile into underground vaults, stone sealed against quakes and coups. Soldiers return from 100 battles, pouches heavy with solidi. 12 per month for Scutatoy infantry, enough for Thracian vineyards or silk-robed wives. Basil's death in 25 unleashes the floodgates. His nieces, Zoe and Theodora, splash gold on palaces and paramours, pearl fountains, ivory beds, chariot races costing 50,000 nomismata yearly. Ledgers bloat with debt, loans from Pisan bankers at 12% usury, repaid in debased copper folus flooding peasant hands. Markets feel the tremor first, echoing footsteps where haggling once roared, prices doubling for Egyptian linen as solidi vanish into court intrigues. Desperation creeps in under Constantine IX. The 1140s see the histamenon rise, a lighter nomisma at 4.2 grams, its gold diluted to 22 carats with silver whispers. Torchlight reveals the shame, dyes softened, flans thinner, the emperor's face blurred like fading resolve. Wars rage, Seljuks at Manzikert loom, Normans sack Bari, draining reserves to dust. Michael VII's Hyperpyron stabs back, nominally pure but featherweight at 4 grams, 20% base metal lurking. Taxes morph into confiscations, landowners' estates seized, melted into emergency coinage. In emptying forums, merchants hoard Frankish deniers, the Byzant's ring dulls. Imperial couriers ride to Venice with chests of debased gold, begging loans that chain the empire tighter. The Solidus, once eternity's vow, loses its heft century by shadowed century. Echoing footsteps resound through Constantinople's emptying markets, where once the Solidus's clink summoned silks and spices, now silence reigns under leaden skies. It is 1092 AD, and Alexios I Comnenus stands in the mint's torchlit gloom, his decree etched in history. The Hyperpyron Nomisma rises from the Solidus's grave, 4.45 grams, gold veiled in 10% silver and copper, its luster dimmed like a promise broken at dawn. Merchants test it warily, scales tipping lighter, teeth leave softer bites. The Byzant's soul, that pure 24-karat fire, ebbs further, traded from Crusader camps to Seljuk bazaars, its debasement a quiet theft, century upon shadowed century. Imperial ledgers, once balanced towers, now spiral into red. First Crusade debts to Venice swell to 200,000 hyperpyra yearly, usury chains binding the basileus tighter than Theodosian walls. The 12th century accelerates the fall. John II Comnenus claws back purity, minting pure hyperpyra at 95% gold, but wars gnaw relentlessly. Hungarian incursions, Danish mend sieges, Norman fleets torching harbors. Taxes devour the land. The Commercion toll jumps to 10%, stripping 1/10 from every Genoese galley inbound with slaves and alum. Torchlight flickers over desperate tallies. Annual output halves to 75,000 pounds, half rerouted to mercenaries' pouches. 20 hyperpyra monthly for Varangian guards, barely enough for Byzantine boots amid rising grain prices. Silent vaults beneath Constantinople's ruins now teach what torchlight once concealed. The weight of a coin is not just metal, but the measure of resolve. Byzantine's gold, eroded century by century, mirrors choices we face in quieter chambers today. Personal treasuries tested by invisible tides of inflation, debt's creeping grasp, and the allure of easy promises. What began as Constantine's unyielding Solidus ended in Palaeologan shadows, a millennium-long lesson etched in ledgers. Empires, like fortunes, crumbled not from sieges alone, but from the subtle debasement within. As modern markets echo with those same footsteps, prices whispering higher, reserves thinning under endless borrowing, history offers a calm map forward, not through fear, but through deliberate guardianship of what endures. Begin with reserves forged in sound assets, as Byzantine once did with Nubian gold. Hold a portion, perhaps 20%, in timeless stores like precious metals or productive land, untouched by fleeting fiat's erosion. These act as anchors when currencies falter, much like the Solidus sustained trade through plagues and Persian storms. Diversify holdings across borders and forms. A merchant's caravan of silks, spices, and amber mirrors today's basket of equities, bonds, and commodities, shielding against any single empire's decline. Avoid over-leverage, that siren of emperors like Zoe, who pawned futures for pearl fountains. Borrow only what cash flow repays thrice over, lest usury chains bind tighter than Venetian loans. Recognize early signs of inflation's siege. Rising grain prices in empty forums signal it now as then. When central ledgers print without restraint, shift to hard assets before scales tip. Build habits of the vigilant eunuch logothete. Track your ledgers monthly, not yearly, noting when taxes or tolls devour margins.